Hi, I'm Shani, and my adoption story is even a surprise for me. I grew up in a two-parent home here in Atlanta, had a great time. I've got three sisters. I'm the oldest of three girls, and really didn't know much about fostering or adopting. I got married in 2000 and assumed that I'd stay happily married and we'd have a family of our own. And unfortunately, in 2007, my husband at the time said that he no longer wanted to be married. He wasn't happy and he left the marriage. It was a really painful, devastating experience for me. And with that, I assumed that it would be rather difficult to start a family without a husband. So I poured myself into my business. I had started a business a few years earlier, a marketing firm, to really be available to be a great present mom and also do work I loved. And when my husband left, I had nothing left. And for me, it was devastating because with his one simple decision, he took my dreams of a family and the life I'd been envisioning away. And so for the last 10 years, I've been fervently working the business, pursuing dating and traditional relationships with hopes that I would get married again and be able to start a family. And recently came to the decision that it was time for me to consider other options. Started praying to God really to show me the way and show me what it is He desired of my life. One of the things I remember when I sat there and looked at those divorce papers through tears, hearing God speak to my heart gently and give me the verse, Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." And so again, a few months ago, I kind of dropped to my knees. I'd broken up with someone who I'd been with for 4 years, and as I approached 42, just really was seeing the dream of a family disappear. And I just kind of cried out to God and said, what is the way? What is it? Just show me clearly what it is you would want me to do. And with that, I started to have revelations through dreams, several actually, that adoption would be a path that would be more likely for me to pursue. And I asked God to confirm it over and over again if that was truly what He was leading me to. And here I am on a video for this series. Have I desired to be a mom? That has been the million-dollar question my entire life, even when I was married, even as I've been divorced and dating. And as people have seen me be successful in business, everyone's always asked me if I want kids. And I've always said I have a huge, huge heart for kids. I'm magnetic with children. Children love me. I love children. But if I'm being really honest, I am petrified of childbirth. And so I just knew that when the time was right, if I was married, I would put myself through the process of traditional pregnancy and childbirth, but void of the husband. I don't have to do that now. So I am excited about adoption for those very personal reasons. But yes, I've always had a heart for children, and I'm excited that this path allows me to pour into a child who has lost a lot, who's been left by his or her parents. And I feel that with my own storyline, I am well equipped to parent to the wound of abandonment. I remember recently in a sermon that Wesley gave one Sunday, he used the verse from Proverbs and talked about when we understand or believe that we have understanding, the Bible tells us to trust in the Lord and lean not to that understanding. So he kind of challenged us that Sunday that if we think we're understanding something from God, to ask God to make sure that we're understanding Him correctly. So I did when, again, I started to feel that God was prompting and pricking my heart and moving me in the direction of adoption and opening my heart to that. I really just decided to take it step by step. And if the doors opened one by one, then I would trust the path. And I did. I went to God, and God and I have been having a lot of very, very heartfelt conversations lately. I just said, hey, God, if this is really you, I think you're telling me you want me to adopt. And if it is what you're wanting, I need you to confirm it for me over and over again in ways that just blow my mind. So He really has done that. I can go on and on, but some of the most simple ways I reached out to my insurance agent to get the verification for the insurance as part of the home study, and asked her if she could fill out a form, and I got an email back, and she said, absolutely, I'd be happy to do that for you, and if you don't mind giving me a call, I'd appreciate it. I'm in this process too, and I had no clue that she was in the process, and she had no clue that I was in the process. She's also a single divorced mom, and she shared her story with me, and it was really encouraging because she's matched with her birth mother, and her baby is due on Christmas Eve. Another amazing way that God confirmed it for me was on a particularly emotionally difficult day where I'd been getting a lot of pushback from some close family and friends, and was having some difficulty landing the plane on who could serve as the legal guardian for my adoption and the adopted child. I kind of resigned myself again that if this was God's will, the person and the answer would find me. And as dejected as I was feeling, I came home that evening and had an email from Jamie. And he had reached out to a few of us about the Forever Change series, and those of us with creative minds and marketing mindset were asked to weigh in on some of the logo designs for the t-shirts. And that probably more than anything was such a huge reminder of how awesome God is. Here I am in this process being at one of my lowest points, and to find out and realize that I'm in a church that would have a series not only about fostering and adopting, but really provide context for adoption and how it looks from a biblical standpoint is not something that was lost on me. It's something that I've personally needed as I've needed to defend this decision for people of faith primarily, but also it helped anchor me and gird me and build my confidence. And so I reached out to Jamie and just kind of just said thank you so much for doing this. I know you don't know this about me, and I'm in this process, and this is just so affirmative and helpful for me. And lo and behold, he didn't say much, but a couple of days later he came back and asked if I'd mind sharing my story. So truly being in a church that is supportive of adoption and fostering and opening ourselves in this way, I didn't even realize that I was in a church home that was ripe and a perfect fit for me in that way, because again, until recently I didn't even realize this is the path that God would have me take. So I don't have a child yet, but I have started the process. I officially signed on with an adoption consultancy back in September, and a consultancy is a little bit different than a traditional agency. They actually help guide the adoptive parent or parents through the process. So I signed on with a company called A Step Ahead Adoption. They're based in Colorado, and that was based on a referral from a friend who's also a single mom who adopted successfully through them last year. And the first step in the process was to fill out a whole lot of paperwork. It's called a home study, and during the whole month of October I am in everybody's system. I've been laughing with friends saying officially if there's such thing as cloning people, I could be cloned at this point, because every piece of identity known to me is in somebody's system. But I'm excited, and I'm also amazed, and rightfully so, at just the level of due diligence that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that people are competent and prepared to adopt. So for the last 4 weeks I've been gathering paperwork, getting fingerprinted, medical exams, and doing all of the things necessary to prove that I'm competent and worthy to adopt. And last Monday on Halloween I had my first visit with the social worker. And so I'm actually real-time waiting to hopefully get an approval that I hope will happen this week or sometime in the next 7 to 10 days. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting to hear back on the home study approval, because that is the official clearance that I will be able to move forward in the process and adopt, I started this weekend working on my profile book. So the profile book is my story, and the profiles are shared with the profiles are shared with birth mothers, who then get to pick and choose who they'd like to adopt their child. And so the profile book is pretty important It's been a great way that I can include family and friends. It's got lots of pictures in it and tells the story of Shani and why I'd make a great mother. In order for me to take on this assignment from God, if you will, I really quickly realized I was going to have to get Shani all out of the way. Shani is rather type A. I like to think of myself as a reformed perfectionist, and I'm a big planner, and this process and journey for me is so much bigger than me. I have literally had to take things step by step. And when I get scared, when I get lonely, when I get frustrated, when I get sad, when I get discouraged, I have to lean on God. And so that's looked like some really direct, intentional, in the moment conversations with God when I've needed Him. He's never failed me. He continues to exceed my expectations and completely blow my mind. And one of the things that has been most beautiful is the way I feel my heart opening up. I'm really in awe of the level of heartache and heartbreak that is in the child welfare system. Particularly, there's so many kids in need of homes, and as I begin to realize that God is not just doing this for me, that He is doing this for a child, I feel Him breaking me down in lots of different ways. I have been laughing behind the scenes with friends, realizing that I'm going to have to let go of some things that Shani enjoys, like my little coupe, and probably get a new car. So he's breaking down some of the selfishness and self-centered things that I've been able to enjoy just because it's been me. But I need to approach things differently and not look at it as a process or a journey of what am I losing, but what am I gaining. And so the best way to explain it is I feel lots of different emotions, excitement, a little bit of fear, a lot of bit of fear. But I'm through it all, I know that if God has brought me to this step and to this place in my life, that I can trust Him unequivocally to show me the way step by step. And so more than anything, God is really just showing me that I don't have to figure it all out. I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to know when and what and where and how things will show up, but I just really need to tell Him what I need. And each time I've done that in this process, He has more than over-delivered and met those expectations. My greatest hope through this adoption journey is that God's will is done. When I think back on my life and I think about that really desperate, dark place I was in 10 years ago when my husband left, I was in a place where I didn't know how my life would move forward. I couldn't see or imagine a life without this person. And to think about all that I've been able to accomplish and do over the last 10 years, more than anything, I'm hopeful. And I know that God will allow me to really pour into this child. I see God's handprint all over this story already, because I think, wow, what a awesome way that God could use my story and testimony of hurt and pain and loss and abandonment and take all of those broken parts and pull them back together in the way of bringing to me a child who has been abandoned. And so while I, as a single person who's never had kids of her own, can't sit here and say with any confidence that I have all the answers, the one answer I can confidently say is that I know that I can parent and pour into the wound of abandonment. And so I'm hopeful that God brings the right child to me with the right story, and that together we can love each other and love on each other and bring each other back to wholeness in life. And I'm just really humbled and honored that God would choose me and use me in this way. And in that way, it really does honor the verse that He gave me when I was holding those divorce papers. And if I could have even had a glimpse of how good His plan was for me back then, I'm sure it would have dried some of those tears. Likewise, I do have also some fears, and I think the biggest fear of all is, again, just that loss of freedom. As a single independent person, I've been able to really enjoy life since my divorce. I've not only been able to, again, pour myself into my business and grow it, and achieve professional success, but more than that, my lifestyle has afforded me lots of great opportunities to travel. I've done half marathons and triathlons, and over the last 2 years, I've really discovered who I am, and come into my own. And so my hope is that together I will be able to share this with the child, but the fear is just the fear of the unknown. And I'm learning through friends who have been pregnant and gone through more traditional means of starting a family, that a lot of the feelings and thoughts I'm having are normal. I've been laughing and telling people, for whatever reason, I'm sleeping like around the clock, and there's a good chance I might be nesting at this point. But besides that, the fear is just the fear of the unknown. I don't know what type of child is coming to me. I don't know what issues he or she may have. And the fear is just wanting to make sure I'm equipped to handle those. And again, we'll just need to trust God that if He's bringing this to me, that He'll provide every resource I'll ever need to parent properly and raise this child to the best of my ability.